Thank you very much, Mr. Kamat and Ulf. With that, we move on to a presentation of the solution that we're talking about. Ulf and me will take 15 minutes to present this to you. We'd like you to put your attention on the screen. Can we have the first slide? Thanks. So, when we see the picture of a planet, when we see the picture of Earth, it's blue, which also means that there's a lot of water, and that's what our planet is made of. Unfortunately, even though there is water, it's very hard to drink that water. As all of us know, we go through multiple systems before the water comes to us in a drinkable form. We also talk about progress, and in progress the road is straight and it's upwards, but we live in a planet that's round. So everything is circular. So our solution also is circular, because whatever we do comes back to us. And if there's one thing that's going to come back to bite us, it's going to be all the water we waste, the earths that we pollute, and the air in which we are giving away emissions. So today we're going to address the situation on how this is possible to at least impact to a certain extent. So 1/3 of humanity lives in water-scarce regions. That is also true. It's unfortunate that even in our country there are areas where there are areas where there's water but it's not drinkable, and there are other areas where there is no water. We know that there have been droughts. We know that women have not been able to really lead normal lives because they take buckets to fill water from sources away from their home. That both increases their tasks, but also impacts the family, impacts children, impacts progress. So today we are going to discuss what little role can we play in that situation. So what we're going to address today is our planet. We're going to address water, and we're going to address air, which are the three most essential parts of our lives. Without any one of them, none of us will survive. And what we are doing with water today, the companies that are selling water today, they don't sell water, they actually sell plastic, and they sell brands. Today's day, nobody says, I'm going to drink a plastic bottle of water. Everybody says, I'm going to drink Bisleri. So it's actually the Bisleri that we buy, it's actually the plastic that we buy, and the water is, it's a side impact of, because when you're paying for a plastic bottle of water, are you really paying for the water, or are you mostly paying for the plastic? And that plastic which stays on our earth for multiple years, and that plastic that cannot be renewed, that cannot be recycled, that's single use. So what we also are advocating is that this area gets cleaned up, and many beaches in Goa unfortunately have been scattered with plastic bottles. One of the things we also see is that Goa is a home to many of you, but Goa is also a tourist spot. So there's a lot of people that come into Goa that don't feel this is their home, and hence the polluting of the beaches is worse than it could have ever been. So what we would like to address plastic, we would like to give a solution to people who come into Goa, and we would like to see that we can look at the land underneath this. So that's our ambition with the plastic. And as you know, it takes at least 450 years for a plastic bottle to degrade. So that is the other, it's raining plastic in Antarctica. There's probably plastic in each one of our systems because we're drinking water that already has plastic in it because it comes in a plastic bottle. So here is also one opportunity to take that plastic out of the system. And I'm going to hand the mic to Ulf, who's going to explain the technology we've developed and explain the solution that today we partner with Mr. Kamat on to bring the solution to Goa. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay, I will try to go through the concept on how these are working, this magic thing that can take away plastic and make water locally produced. So if you take the next slide, a lot of our co-founders come from the situation that we've been participating in building up different industries, like pharmaceutical industry, like fashion industry, and a lot of other industries. And we consider ourselves, like at one point, taking a white paper, telling ourselves a question: what if we were to build civilization again? How would we do it? And obviously that's a big question, but we would probably not build plants of shipping water in plastic or oil pipeline through continents. So we had the mindset, or at least I'm coming from the country where Spotify first appeared, and I'm old enough to remember that in the past when we're listening to music, we did it by sending plastic around the world to listen to music. We don't do that anymore. We actually stream music or 3D print it directly. And we thought about, what if we could 3D print water? And obviously we're not 3D printing it, but with our technology we can take any kind of water source, seawater, brackish, borehole water, wastewater, grey water, industrial wastewater, and we can eliminate all the bad things and stuff in the water, make it clean H2O, and add the minerals needed for the nutrition, because that's a very important part too. But also not only treat the water, but also put it in a safe vessel so it reach the consumers in a safe way. We need to have high integrity in that. So the next slide. So the system is composed by three major players. That's in our drama of making the water. The first one is something we call smart pod or micro factory. It's like a 20-foot container size micro factory that is actually in one part, it's taking the water inlet, and like I think I mentioned in the beginning, it's totally run on solar. It can be run on any grid, but we prefer obviously solar. It takes any kind of water, it treats it inside here with a lot of high technology and also to a very high yield. And I think I will come back to the reason why we're speaking about high yield of water. We are adding the minerals inside on this part here. And then we are also in one part filling vessels. We call them kegs. But we're filling vessels and we are hermetically closing them, because one thing that we learn if we're going to compare ourselves with the plastic bottles that is basically everywhere, we see it here as well, it has some kind of key advantage, and that's when you open the bottle, you know it's not been tampered with. And we have to find a solution where we also have a very safe system where we mechanically close it, but we also digitally close it. So this machine here is filled with IoT, it's connected to the cloud, we're measuring everything that is happening for improvement. I'm coming from the technical side, so I love to measure everything because we can make it better. But from our other parts inside the company that's more concerned about the customer experience and what is happening out on the customer side, we also get all the data from the consumption point. And I will come back to that too. So we're filling the vessels here, the vessels move out. It's a small capacity, so it doesn't have to travel a lot. So each of the microfactory produces 9,000 liters of clean, pristine drinking water. So it's not like you have one plant and then sending a lot of stuff far away. It's in a closed circle around the unit where we're delivering the water. So it's filled in the kegs. These are also digitally connected, so we know where they are, we can plan last mile deliveries, we can see the hygiene content and so forth. Excuse me. And then at the consumption point, the kegs are placed on a connected dispenser. We call them smart tap. It has a lot of technology inside here. And it's sorry. So the technology can also provide a lot of data on other things than just the water. So we're measuring the air quality, because when we are emptying the kegs, air is coming in. So we need to filter the air and we need to measure the air quality. These are data that can be sent to third parties for other reasons. But everything that is happening here is also sent back to which means that we can, there is an interest also from government side to see the areas where we have been able to deliver clean drinking water, if we match that with health data, we can see the impact of having clean drinking water. We provide this kind of keg and dispenser and are trying to avoid bottles as much as possible. So at each consumption point, these dispensers should be out in hotel rooms, in hospitals, in household, in restaurants and so forth. But sometimes you need to be on foot. You need to bring something and you need to move. Then we also have personal flasks that are also connected so that we can work with subscription model. Just paint yourself a picture that one of these microfactories is on the beach of Goa, and then the tourist comes and they receive the welcome to Goa, Goa is plastic free. You got 100 liter inside this one, and then you go and blip it somewhere and then you get your water. So just as picture and image what could happen. So these are the system and how it looks like. All, once again, are connected and automized, so it's fully run on automation. There is also a very important thing when these vessels comes back. Once again, like I think I said, it's a fully circular system. The vessels are cleaned and verified they are clean, but without chemicals. So we have a patented solution for using ozone to clean the vessels, make sure that they are clean, hygiene safe, and then filled and then moves out again. So next slide. So we believe from Wayout, we believe this is one of the early design of the dispensers. So this is the electronic part and this is the keg part. This is obviously the water. But we believe that the future of water production will be locally, because we don't think that it makes sense to produce it in one spot and emptying an aquifer, put it in plastic, sending it somewhere else, drinking it and throwing away the plastic there. We think that it can be produced locally because water is in most of the places available but not safe. We need to find a way to treat it or produce the water locally. But we also believe that the future of water has to be circular. The future of water production has to be circular, and we need to avoid plastic. And obviously we see plastic everywhere, so we all know that that is a problem. It will become even a worse problem. And of course it should be connected for us to enable measurements and improvement, but also combining the data with other type of data so that we can measure health impact and see where the water is actually needed. We get signals back if you're dehydrated and so forth. So we can do a lot of things with a digital part. And obviously it has to be transformative. The technology has to be better than the one that we have in the past. We will come back to the yield and all the eco footprints that we are having. So take the next slide. So obviously one of the reasons that we did this, let's say built this concept or even brought it forward, was that we think that we have to do things in a different way. And one of the major part is obviously the sustainability impact that we have. And I will let the word over to our sustainability director.
Thank you very much, Ulf. And I have the privilege of talking about sustainability because of the founders. They have actually engraved a solution, a sustainable solution in every part of this offer. So just if I start from the very beginning, when the microfactory is produced, today it's produced in Sweden and tomorrow it could be produced in Goa. And that's what we hope will happen. We are not traveling long distances. We are actually putting the unit in a premises around which there is consumption. So it also means that today if you have plastic bottles, they have to be traveled from the factory to your hands. But tomorrow, when the Wayout solution is in place, from the terrace of a building, the whole building can get water. And it can get clean drinking water, which is digitally sealed and it's secured. That's one big sustainability agenda, because today's day transportation is creating so much carbon emission. The other thing is that you're also able to use water that normally would not have been drinkable. So you are also reducing the wastage of water. And I know that the Goa government has been very keen on that process. And we've had multiple meetings in Goa with many industries, and their interest in making sure that the water that is consumed in Goa is not wasted. That's one big advantage of this. The other thing also is that the whole solution works on solar. So it's a renewable operation. There are no pipings, so this solution can be placed on the beach of Kalangut. And everybody that comes on the beach can get a Wayout bottle and they can drink water from it. And this bottle that we see everywhere probably will not exist in time to come. So that's the other advantage, that you get the chance to actually drink water that is not contaminated by plastic, because it's also important to know that there is plastic in this water as well, because it's been standing in this bottle of plastic. We also then, as we go further into the offer, you also see that there is the water that is being given out is of higher quality, which also means that there's a huge health benefit. We all know whenever we have issues with our health, one of the first things we think about is, did I drink water that was contaminated? It's the first thing that comes to our mind. And here is a guarantee that at least that problem is behind you, and at least every time that there is a medical condition, you actually can put another purpose to it than water that was contaminated. We also then offer this water in steel kegs, and those steel kegs have a life of 30 years. So it also means that there is a chance of completely taking this away, because today's date this plastic bottle is consumed and then it's probably thrown on some beach. Tomorrow you don't need to do that. You will have this bottle which has a 30-year life, and you will have a keg from which this will be dispensed, and a smart tap from where it will be dispensed, as Ulf explained, and that has a 30-year circular. So we started this presentation by showing how the earth is round, and that's what we're doing with all materials we use. We're having a circular impact. Once you take away plastic from the solution, you save carbon footprints. And our ambition with the carbon footprints is that we map them. We make sure that those carbon footprints that we are reducing can be used as offset. And that offset can actually make hotels, hospitals, maybe airports, maybe train stations, carbon neutral. So we are progressively reducing all the environmental impacts that today we do by just buying a bottle of plastic water. I don't end there, because I also say that this solution should ensure, in a market like ours, which is price sensitive, that there is a sensitivity to cost. And hence we are also making sure that this is going to be 10 to 15% cheaper than this bottle that you buy. So there's also an impact on your economy, because you're buying water that is clean, that's healthy, that's been digitally sealed to ensure that it's never tampered with, because we also know that these bottles can be tampered with. And yet you pay less than you would pay if you were buying this bottle. So that's a little bit about our sustainability profile, and that comes with a technology. And over to Ulf.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I would just like to add something on the costing. I think that we are all aware of that there will be carbon tax coming in one way or the other. There will be more expensive plastic raw material. There will be more expensive transport. So the plastic, single-use plastic bottled water will of course be more and more expensive, and we hope that ours will not have that kind of increase. Okay, let me speak a little bit about the technology. I will not bore you too much. I will run through this quite quickly, but this is a presentation that you can also get later on if you want. So all the data and stuff is inside. So take the next slide. So once again, it's all composed of the three parts. The smart pod, we call them, the smart keg, and the smart tap. And the reason for us to do this is obviously to produce the perfect drinking water. Like Atika said also, it's an easy plug and play thing. We can place it anywhere. It has all these eco, let's say, positive effects, and it's also a very long lifetime. So you can take the next slide. So one of the key components is obviously the microfactory. It runs on quite low energy, so we have put a lot of attention to let's say low energy machine that produces that produce water. We all know that RO, because there is some RO inside as a part of this, has a high consumption of energy. But we have made it, we have taken that into control so that we can have a very high yield, thus making it very, very efficient. And then we can take the next one, which is the smart tap. There's, once again, I already spoke about it, but here it's a lot of technology inside. It's very, very simple to dismount and mount, and there's a lot of things, let's say there's really not a lot of things that can go wrong or be tampered with or whatever. It's totally controlled when you enter with a keg onto the smart tap, but you cannot use it if it's not the right keg, and it cannot be used if it's tampered with. So it's totally 100% safe all the time. So you can take the, yeah, this is the water quality. Sometimes we consider that that this is like the best quality we can get, independently on brands. But we all know that there is a lot of even issues with the quality of plastic water. So we have put a lot of attention on kind of scientifically level, put the best quality water that is out there. A pH level that is close to the human body, all the nutrition that is recommended from the world's organizations that can be involved in the water. These are the standard figures we can get. If you have a local preference, I mean, in some countries there is a local preference of having things a little bit differently. We can change that as well. So now the slides move over to one of our first installation up on the rooftop bar in Kenya, Nairobi. It was installed just before COVID, and then they entered into more or less a 1.5 year lockdown. But it's open now, so you can take the next one. Yeah, this is probably one of the most famous of our first installation. It's out in Serengeti, out in Tanzania. And one of the reasons that we placed it there was that we wanted to place it quite close to the first footstep of humanity, close to the footstep of Lucy. Because if we want to redo things, we want to start where humanity starts. It's the installation is totally independent on anything, so they make all their beverage locally. There is no more plastic in the camps. There is no more transport with a diesel truck 8 hours through the national park, and there's no more 8-hour transport back with the waste as well. So this is an installation that we had in Sweden. That one is moving now to Masai Mara. The other one you can also mention, that's a unit that went down to Uganda in a cooperation with an NGO. That's an area where we're actually helping a community to get water where they could not in the past even get water. So you can take the next. So we have put a lot of attention on the industrial partnership that we have, and that is for a couple of reasons. And one of the main reasons is really to make sure that we have a high quality and a long lifetime of the equipment that we are producing. So one of the key partners is Alfa Laval, a Swedish industrial company that is actually producing our hardware right now. They are producing it in Denmark currently, but we are planning to move it over to their Indian site. And of course, later on, like I think I also mentioned, we have the ambition to move more and more locally where we can, and it would obviously be very good if we can even produce the whole machines down here in Goa at some point. Ericsson, a Swedish telecom company, is helping us with all the IoT. There is a lot of things that is happening on the data side, which we maybe not have time to cover today. But Ericsson is a strong partner on that field for us. They even issued, I think, 2 press releases on their site about our partnership, even though we are probably one of the smallest clients in the history of Ericsson currently, because there's not much transaction, but they really want to work together with us. These were one of the major companies that also helped us to bring us to the World Expo, where we were a part of the Swedish pavilion during 6 months as an official supplier. So, and one of the most important partner for us is in the automation space and in the IoT and IT space. That's where we work with Siemens, one of the strongest industrial players in the world in that field. Siemens is very interesting because they are moving all their attention to build smart cities and smart community solutions, and all of it is based on IT. So it's a really good match on how we think, and they are also moving very much into distributed technology. So enable us to produce in different spots and then combine it in a grid. So now take the next one. Now I'd like to introduce Atika again, but before I leave over the mic, I say that this is obviously a new type of technology, a new way of doing things. Even though we have a lot of proven technology inside, we have been working, many of us, in the water space for 20 years, so we all know that things are working. But we are bringing a new concept to the world, and we need, for us to succeed and to get to a point where we can actually help the communities to get rid of the plastic and to serve water, we need brave local leaders like Mr. Kamat here, that at such an early point of our technology, were brave enough to move into a collaboration with us. And I think that's very, very important for these kind of new technologies and transition technologies, that we have brave people that dare to take that step that is necessary. So I'd like to say thank you already before we are ready.
Thank you, Ulf, and thank you, Mr. Kamat, for letting this picture change. This is a picture that Ulf and me took last evening. We were walking on the Wayout beach, and we saw the plastic bottles, and you know, as an Indian, we've just become accustomed to it because you see them everywhere. But as a Swede, you notice them, and so Ulf was bending down to take a picture of the bottle, and we decided to show that picture today because this is what can change. This is the change that we think will happen to Goa. What will this mean for Goa? This will mean we've been meeting a lot of decision makers, officials, industry, stakeholders, partners, and not the least Mr. Kamat, who has been extremely inspiring in wanting to actually bring a solution to Goa that can actually change, transform Goa. What this would mean is that this is one of the best solutions for hospitality, because every hotel has the opportunity to take plastic out of their system, and hotels are large consumers of plastic bottles. As you all know, when we check into a hotel and we get into a room, you see 4 to 8 bottles lined up, and those bottles also are plastic bottles of water that come for free. So for a hotel, that is also a cost, and it's also kind of, you know, we are adding to the environment all the issues. On the other hand, there is also an opportunity to reduce wastewater. So what we could also do is use water effectively. Firstly, when you clean through the system versus cleaning through an AquaGuard that we all have at home, what you do is you lose 50% of the water while you're cleaning it in the RO solution through AquaGuard, whereas in this solution you get 85% of the water back, which is consumable, which is plastic free, and which is easily available within the vicinity that you live in. So that's the other advantage for Goa. What will this mean? This will mean that this will replace this. So every conference room we go to, these will go away and these will be recyclable, because you can use these for 30 years. Whereas this, you have to use once and then leave it on the beaches. So that's the other big thing that can happen. I also want to tell you a little bit about the commercials, because as an Indian, I also know that we are a very price-sensitive market. So the advantage of this solution also is that it's an operation on OPEX model, which also means that you don't have to pay anything for the machine. We take care of that cost. We're leasing it. It's water as a service. It's not that anybody has to buy this equipment. This equipment can be installed at premises where there is at least 2,000 people that can be serviced with water, with clean drinking water. So basically, the payment of this water, which is cheaper than what you pay for this, only starts the day you put your glass under the tap and you drink the water. So the whole system is leased, the kegs, the taps, the entire technology that Ulf showed you, you don't have to pay a penny for that. The only day you pay is when you put your glass under the tap and you drink for it. So we're really happy that Mr. Kamat has seen that advantage in this solution. and that he is actually hoping that more and more places in Goa will adopt this, because while we are reducing all the environmental impacts, we are increasing, we are making sure that it's financially viable. Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome, sir. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you so much for participating today. We are here today to sign a contract between Wayout and Mr. Kamat to be able to make sure that we can help Goa in being plastic free. With that, I give the mic to Mr. Kamat.
Thank you, sir, for acceding to our request and being here. What we are trying to do is try to the extent possible reduce the plastic bottles which are being used to dispense water. The whole idea is ultimately this plastic bottles leads to green gas emission, and therefore